Okay, this is something I hear almost daily in my practice that patients, especially women, have been told that their labs are normal and they are feeling terrible. They are tired, they're exhausted, have no libido. They are gaining weight, losing hair. They're not sleeping. Their skin's changing, just, one thing after the other. And they go to their primary care and are told their labs are normal. There are just a few extra tests that we check along the way that can sometimes tell a different story. Okay. My name's Lutricia Bennett. I am a certified nurse practitioner, have been for 20 years, and I specialize in wellness and aesthetics. What a lot of people don't realize is that you can have a completely normal hemoglobin and still be iron deficient. Ferritin is our stored iron. That is where our iron pulls from, and that is where our body pulls from to raise the hemoglobin. Okay, so I like to explain it this way. Iron is the money in your checking account, while ferritin is the money in your savings account. So you're going to pull from that savings account when your body needs it. And so a lot of, especially women, I do see men come and complain about this occasionally, but especially women will come in complaining of this severe fatigue and hair loss, as well as brain fog and poor exercise recovery. Like they're like, I'm out of breath going up the stairs, even restless legs. And I will tell you this, it cascades over into the thyroid. You will have poor conversion of T4 to T3, which is your active thyroid hormone. Because of all of this, it is very, very important to always keep a check on your ferritin levels. Now, the ferritin, if you look on like a LabCorp normal lab panel, I believe the low is listed around 30, but most women are not optimized until they're above 70. Now, the other nurse practitioner that I work with, Misty, she loves to see them closer to 150 and she will push them all the way up there. And they do feel phenomenal. But my minimum is 70. Like if you are below 70, we're going to need to give you a little bit of iron to get that level up. Okay, so vitamin D, I know if you've been listening to me or you're a patient of mine, I know you hear about vitamin D all the time. I want to break it down here. Vitamin D functions very much like a hormone. So our bodies make it. It doesn't make it as effectively when we get older, and we all use sunscreen. I hope you're using sunscreen when you're outside. And so we just don't efficiently make it. Now, different ethnicities and skin, like darker skin, is not going to make it as much either. So it's very, very important that you check it. Vitamin D, just like all of our hormones, is going to affect every single organ system. There's receptor sites for vitamin D on every organ system. So if those receptor sites are not filled, then that organ's not going to be functioning at its optimized capacity. It's very important to have that vitamin D level up as well. If you have a level above 60, it has been linked to lower rates of cardiovascular disease and certain types of cancers. So it's super important to have it up there. Now, it's also really, really important for your immune system, insulin resistance, for your muscle functioning, and for your bone health. Vitamin D is going to push that calcium into the bone, okay? That's also been linked to mood. So there have been studies that show that depression improves significantly with higher vitamin D levels. Optimized is above 60. Now, many times when my patients come in and they're really low, and so I'm talking like in the 20s, 30s, and even, teens, then I'm going to put them on a prescription strength. Now, this is where it gets tricky. So prescription strength is vitamin D2. We're going to do 50,000 IU once a week, and that is done over a 16-week course. Then I change them from the D2 over to D3 plus K2, which is the more bioavailable. The reason that we want the K2 is because it ushers the D where it's supposed to go, okay? Keeps it out of the blood vessels and keeps it in the bones and the important areas of our body. So a lot of people are confused about this because they're thinking clotting, but that is that's a different K. We are talking about K2. I will tell you, patients feel more fatigued when their vitamin D level is under, especially down at the 30 range. They do feel a lot more fatigued. So it's super important to keep a check on that. Okay, B12. We do check this a lot. Now, B12, a lot of times this is low if you are on proton pump inhibitors or pepsids, H2 blockers, anything that messes with the acid in the stomach. You're not going to absorb your B12 as well. And if you're not a big meat eater, you're not going to get a lot of B12. That's another thing. But with B12, it's a very big energy vitamin. And a lot of people they know that, but it contributes a lot to energy. So I really like to always check that. Now, optimal, in my opinion, is above 500. And that is where patients tend to do the best. It helps with brain fog. It's wonderful with nerve conduction, nerve functioning. People that have a lot of nerve pain, we really need to get those vitamin B12 levels above 600. It helps with methylations. I really like my patients to be on methylated B12. And the reason for that is half the population has variation in their MTHFR gene. And if you have a variation in that, that means you're not going to methylate. Now, methylation has a lot to do with our hormones and how well we feel. You want to be on a methylated B12 because if you, like I said, half the population has an alteration in that gene. If you are a non-methylator, it's going to help you methylate a lot better to be on a methylated B12. I really like methylated B complex as well because the other B vitamins that are methylated are really great as well. Fasting insulin. So this is something I never tested when I was in primary care. I never tested it when I was in ICU medicine. It's very, very important. We want to get a fasting insulin level. I would say it is one of the most overlooked tests in medicine. If you have a high fasting insulin, you are going to have more weight gain. You're going to have more belly fat. It leads to prediabetes and diabetes, as well as metabolic dysfunctions. You want to catch this early. And a lot of patients will come in and they're like, I can't lose weight. Something is going on. And that's when lots of times we will check that and find that it's elevated. I really like my patients to be below 13 on that. And we are going to do measures to get that down if they're above that. CRP, that stands for C-reactive protein. Now, I did check this a good bit in ICU medicine because it is elevated when the body is fighting infections, a very severe infection, but it's also an inflammation marker. Okay. We also want to look into if this patient has cardiovascular disease, if it's chronically elevated. But if it's elevated, your risk of chronic disease is much, much higher. So this is one of those tests that when it comes back elevated, it's like, oh my gosh, what we got to figure out why. So lots of times we'll try to treat things that we can treat first, treat that chronic inflammation and whatnot. But it could be due to a chronic infection, again, cardiovascular disease, autoimmune conditions, poor gut health. I see that a lot. A lot of us in the United States have poor gut health, and we can talk about that at a later time because that is a whole rabbit hole in itself. One of the biggest things is that low-grade inflammation can contribute to a lot of fatigue and joint aches and pains, weight loss resistance, accelerated aging, and chronic inflammation has also been linked to the developments of cancer. Again, this is another test that it gives a snapshot of how much inflammation may be driving aging and disease inside the body. I always will look at when this comes back elevated, I'll look at the diet quality, protein intake, again, the gut health, definitely stress levels, and blood sugar control. If you're slightly elevated with that, that can lead to an elevated CRP as well. And then exercise habits. I want to go back to that fasting insulin for a moment because one of the things that there's a few supplements that are going to help with an elevated fasting insulin level, like getting your vitamin D up. Magnesium is fantastic for that. You take magnesium glycinate at night. I usually start most of my patients on 240 milligrams and I move them up to around 500 is tolerated. And it does a phenomenal job at helping with insulin resistance. I have my entire family on it. When I can get my 16-year-old to take it, she's on it too, but half the time she won't. That's a really, really great one to add in. Berberine is great. I always advocate for it being in a liposomal tablet so that patients can absorb it a little bit better, but berberine is really fantastic for the insulin resistance portion as well. Exercise also helps decrease this level. And I always say it's not just about carb management. It is about increasing your protein, good quality fats as well. So all in all, normal doesn't always mean optimal. And in our practice, we are trying to optimize health. We do a lot of functional medicine as well as hormone optimization. So we're always trying to optimize patients to where they are feeling the best. And again, that's not always the LabCorp normal values. The other thing is it's one of those things too. A lot of my women present and they've waited. They've waited and they have gotten to the point where they feel really, really bad. And they've asked a couple of times just to have the normal blood work panel done. And I mean, I've been in primary care before and I've ran a normal blood work panel and I've been like, yeah, it's normal. So it's just one of those things. If you are feeling bad, do not despair. Sometimes just asking for these additional tests and seeing what they are can really make a huge difference in the way that you feel and your overall health. I would love to hear from you guys and hear any lab values or questions that you have next, other episodes that you'd like. I'm going to try to be a lot better at getting these done weekly or every 2 weeks for you guys. So talk to you soon. Again, I would love for you to like this and subscribe and continue to tune in. Bye.